tragic events took place at Lezobaza in Tyumen on June 30th, 2021. A little girl named Nastya Muravyeva went missing. Trouble struck her just 3 days before her birthday. At 11 a.m., she left her home and headed to a nearby boarding house. She wanted to find free Wi-Fi to download a mobile game and spend time on social media. She always went to that place. This wasn't the first time something like this happened, and she had never gotten into trouble before. But that day, she didn't come home. Before we start the story, I want to mention a Telegram channel created with over 10 authors specializing in crime topics. Subscribe to instantly view all new video announcements in one Telegram channel feed. Select the videos and authors you want to watch. We all know that notifications on YouTube don't always come through and recommendations don't always show up in your feed on time. That's why I recommend subscribing to the joint Telegram channel Cremo. The link is below the video. The parents raised the alarm only at 11 p.m. Until then, they thought their daughter was fine. The girl's father, Sergei, thought that the grandmother was looking after his daughter, so he only started to panic late in the evening. Only by night did the relatives contact the police and the volunteers joined in a little later. The search for the girl started that night, June 30th to July 1st. The police were gathered on the nearest street, volunteer camps were set up, and one of them disbanded. The girl settled by the shipbuilder's house 40. As it would later turn out, it was in this very house that the girl lost her life. Active searches were underway, involving both the military and psychics. Everyone wanted to find the girl alive. Police questioned residents and search teams combed the area. Every abandoned building, basement and forest thicket was checked. Specialists examined bodies of water, but it was all in vain. Caring city residents put up flyers with a photo of Nastya, hoping the girl would be found soon. This case shocked the entire city and then became a tragedy for the whole country. The girl's relatives were also questioned, her father and grandmother. They raised Nastyusha together. Her mother left her and 3 other children, but she was also checked. And the child has nothing with her, that is, nothing in her hands. At least in the morning, we saw that the child had something in her hands. No progress has been made in the investigation. The family's testimony had no effect. A criminal case was opened under Article 105 of the Russian Criminal Code. The police understood that it would not be possible to find the child alive, so they opened a case under the article concerning the deprivation of life of a minor. On July 2, the last footage was found showing Nastya alive. Surveillance cameras recorded her entering the store. The girl didn't buy anything and left. No one saw her again. There was no progress in the investigation for 3 days. The investigators considered various theories about what happened, suggesting that the girl might have been kidnapped. Each theory was checked. A reward of 500,000 rubles was offered by the Tyumen regional government for useful information that could help find the child. The Ministry of Internal Affairs also offered a reward, but in a larger amount, 1 million. The investigation was actively ongoing. The police were taking fingerprints from local residents and collecting saliva samples so that if DNA was found, it could be compared with the samples they already had. The investigators managed to uncover another fact. The girl was dressed completely differently than her parents had described. The color of her t-shirt and her shoes were reported incorrectly. Later, a criminal case would be opened against the parents for negligence. The lull lasted for a month and a half. Volunteers from Kaluga and Liza Alert members from Moscow arrived. Dog handlers with dogs were involved, but there were no new leads. The body was found on August 19, 2.5 kilometers from the girl's home. Grass cutters found her in the bushes on Obrokhnoi Lake's shore. Volunteers stated that they had searched this area multiple times but found nothing. Tall, thick grass overgrows the lake shore. Later, the police reported that the body was in the apartment, but when and how it was taken to the lake, the authorities do not disclose. Before the body ended up outdoors, it was kept behind the washing machine and then it was put in the refrigerator. The criminals stayed in the apartment with the body for days. Diverse doctors, investigators, and forensic experts immediately began arriving at the lakeshore. Among them was a man who had previously managed to catch the Angarsk maniac. The gathering was noticeable, prompting local residents to discuss the incident. Rumors began to spread that the girl's body had finally been found, but the police were in no hurry to officially announce the situation. Just a few hours later, the situation was officially commented on by the investigative committee. For a month and a half, volunteers fought for the girl's life and safety, combing through every section of the forest, while hope of finding her alive still lingered in their hearts. But this story did not have a happy ending. Nastya, 8, was found bound with wire and wrapped in plastic bags. The criminal put it in a large appliance box and wrapped it with film and a piece of rug for extra sealing. It was this box that helped track him down. Through painstaking police work, it was discovered that the appliance from this box had been sent to a furniture workshop to be installed in a kitchen set. And at the residence, law enforcement officers managed to find that very rug from which a piece had been torn off. The man living at this address was detained on August 25th. The detainee turned out to be a 40-year-old man, Vitaly Berezhnoy, who had previously worked in law enforcement, but his service lasted only 2 years. He lived in the building next to Nastya's parents, with his rented apartment directly across from theirs. Traces of his DNA were found on the girl's body, and all the evidence pointed to him. During the interrogation, he confessed. According to him, on that fateful day, he was drunk and under the influence when he met the girl on the stairwell in the morning. He lured Nastya into his apartment where he brutally attacked her. The criminal tied her up with tape, then assaulted and killed her. Nastya died from asphyxiation. During the investigation, outraged citizens gathered outside the building. They did everything they could to help find the girl. They put up flyers, joined volunteer search teams, and did everything possible to find her. Human residents, angry, demanded the scoundrel be handed over so they could punish him themselves.
Murder passage, please let us through. Take a seat. Where is he? He must break the law. Which one? Here. Here is the killer. They'll take him out in reverse. It's all clear over there.
On the day Nastya's body was found, townspeople gathered at her house and created a memorial. Throughout the day, people came there and left stuffed toys and carnations, piling up things around the house. It seemed that there wasn't a single indifferent person who could walk past this house without remembering the little girl who once lived here. Only the police stopped the townspeople from taking revenge on her executioner. Nastya's funeral took place on August 28th. It seemed as if the whole city had gathered in this place. Strangers who might not have even known her were crying and placing flowers and stuffed toys around the coffin. They wrote the girl's birth date on the cross but left out the date of death, which had special symbolism. The parents were deprived of their parental rights and the other children were sent to social institutions. The court session was closed, but during the trial, Nastya Muravyeva's father behaved very ambiguously. At first, he stated that he wanted to regain custody of his daughter, but then he suddenly changed his mind and showed indifference and lack of interest. Over time, more and more frightening facts emerged in the case. It turned out that the father of the deceased, Sergei, had a criminal record under the same Article 105. He stabbed his friend to death, and in 2016 his children had to live in an orphanage while waiting for him to be released from prison. Overall, the neighborhood where the family lived was very troubled. There were a huge number of former convicts living there. There are 5 apartment buildings in the neighborhood, which are called dormitories. Empty bottles and drunk people are lying around their entrances. In general, it's a very troubled neighborhood. The criminal who took Nastya's life must be punished. Irrefutable evidence has been gathered, and he has confessed to his guilt. It seemed like he should have been put behind bars right away, but, as often happens, his trial dragged on for many months. The man began to deny his guilt, claiming that it was the police who tortured him and forced him to incriminate himself. Vitaly is married and even has a daughter, and it was his wife who supported the statement about his innocence. The woman's name is Irina Davidova. She has repeatedly tried to draw public attention to convince people of her husband's innocence. She recorded a video message where she said that she doesn't believe Vitaly could have done such a thing.
I, Irina Davidova, am publicly addressing Minister of Internal Affairs KLA, Koltsev, Investigative Committee Chairman Bastrikin, and Prosecutor General Kresnov. My common-law husband, Berezhny Vitaly, is being accused of this crime. After that, during a visit at the detention center, he also tried to convince me that he committed this crime, but at the same time he looked scared and depressed. I never believed Vitaly was involved in this crime, because on the day Nastya Muravyeva disappeared, I was in contact with him by phone all day, and he was not intoxicated. As the investigation claims,
Berezhnoi repeatedly filed complaints in court, where he stated that he was forced to give a confession, but not a single complaint was considered. Gradually, his words attracted more and more attention, and now many people have doubts about his guilt. Irina Davidova started a petition supporting her husband. Flyers were found on the streets of the city stating that Berezhnoi was detained unfairly. As it later turned out, these flyers were put up by Irina herself as a form of protest. In 2023, the woman even participated in Malakhov's show, where she continued to stand her ground. At the moment, the verdict has not yet been delivered. Vitaly Berezhny is also suspected of committing a homicide in 2011 while he was working in the Ministry of Internal Affairs. The girl who became the victim of the criminal in 2011 was also named Nastya Berezhnaya. He assaulted her and took her life. There is no official confirmation or criminal case about this matter. The closed hearing in the Berezhnoi case was held with a jury. The required number of people wasn't gathered immediately because some didn't meet the criteria. The trial began in May, and the verdict was supposed to be delivered in July. The jury was supposed to make a decision, and the judge would finally deliver the verdict. Justice would be restored. But it wasn't that simple. First, the announcement date was postponed, then they said there'd be no verdict. The jury had to be dismissed from the case due to a breach of the secrecy of the deliberation room. Their decision was leaked online, the judge recused himself, and now the case will be decided in Moscow. At the moment, the case is still ongoing, and all we can do is wait for justice to be restored.